Okay, so he's going to kind of come in and kind of cup the ears. Okay, so just like that. Okay. All right, so you see how he's holding. He's not really covering the ears, per se. And he's going to hold the head in a neutral inline position. You see how the head's in a inline position. It's not a hyperextended, hyperflexed. That is holding spinal precautions, or inline stabilization. Does that make sense? So center precaution, seeing safety, hold the head in a neutral inline position. Now what do I need? Oh, now what does he need to do? BMS checks, very good. So, go ahead, come around. Okay.
Hi, my name's Edward. I'm going to be checking the pulse right now. Okay. Can you wiggle your fingers for me? Can you grab my fingers, please? Squeeze them. Thank you. And close your eyes for me, please. Which finger am I touching right now? Now?
Pinky.
Now?
Now?
Pinky. Thank you. What am I doing now?
Pinky.
And now?
Pinky.
Thank you. Okay, you can check your pulse in your feet.
For the sake of the skill, I want you to do both for today. On skills day, you can pick one type of pulse. Does that make sense? So just get in the habit, because sometimes people will develop which one they like more.
Should we mark it?
No.
Okay.
You can acknowledge it,
touch
verbalize
me?
it. Okay, I
Thank
would
you.
mark the pulse.
Alright, can you push down like a gas pedal? And then can you pull your toes up against my hands? Thank you.
Okay. Good sensory.
Good sensor. Can you, which toe am I touching right now?
My pinky.
And now?
The big one.
Now?
The pinky.
Now?
The big one.
So right now, PMS is intact. So then he would acknowledge PMS is intact. Now he needs to take his collar, size, and apply it. Okay? The first thing, the second you put your hands on that collar, there you go. So that should be the just muscle memory. The second you put your hands on the collar, go ahead and measure it, or go ahead and flip that chin piece. So now he needs the size of the collar. So like he's going to backhand him. Okay, hand is perpendicular to the ground, resting on his shoulder. You're going to draw an imaginary line. Okay, from his chin straight down. How many fingers? 3. No.
More like 4.
Other way. More like 2. Oh, don't worry, I'm about to shoot as well. Now, if your person lets go on test day, if your person lets go on test day, first of all, that's going to be on them. We're not going to tell them, okay, when they're not looking, go ahead and let go. We're not going to do that. Okay? Usually that will occur because it's going to be the bystanders that you bring in on that day. Okay? So they're the ones that are actually holding the head. The big part of this skill is you delegating. They are told specifically, don't do anything unless you're specifically told to. Okay? So now, if he lets go by accident, it's up to you to catch that. If half the skill goes by, or it's been more than a minute, that's probably going to be a critical fail. So if he lets go by accident, he has to catch it. Sir, please hold the hand, neutral line position, don't let go. You actually have to catch that. But we're not going to do it on purpose. Okay? But that's going to be your responsibility to catch that. Does that make sense? Okay. So now that he sized the collar, just like that. So see how he leans over? That's fine. Take the strap. You tuck that strap behind the neck. And you pull that strap lightly right to where that bar is directly behind that cervical spine. Okay? So now he's going to grab the collar. Just like we kind of point it down towards the chest. See how there's like a scooping motion. Sir, please don't hold the head.
Don't hold the head?
Hold the head.
No.
It's not like I said don't. Now, as far as the person holding the head, what they're going to do is start to slowly pull their hands up towards the top, so he has room, okay? But he's still holding on. Okay, so go ahead and strap it down. So now, so he would actually be a good candidate for that blanket, okay? but you see what I'm saying though? Even though the collar looks like it's measured correctly, on some patients, it's just not gonna happen. Ideally, you should not be covering the ears like that, because then your patient's gonna get claustrophobic, and then it's uncomfortable having something tied down to your ear like that. Okay? Does everyone see what I'm saying?
Would this work
Okay?
on him?
No. So, so if that's the case, then sometimes you might have to actually lower the collar down a little bit. Okay.
Okay, it's okay.
He needs the blanket.
Yeah. Try the blanket. Try the blanket. Sir, hold the head. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that blanket and you're gonna kind of flatten it or finish rolling it, and then tuck it behind his neck. You don't have to lift the head too much.
Paralyzed for life.
The head should not be lifted more technically than like a quarter of an inch. So cross it. Now, never had anything over. Never had anything over. Okay? All right.
So do I still hold it, or is it good?
So now, no, you're still holding.
Okay.
Okay? So now we need to get him on the board. Okay? So now we need 2 more people. Okay? All right, so 1 person right here. Need 1 more person.
Where do I go?
Right there. All right, so now what Edward needs to do, he needs to direct Carl. Okay, on your 3 count, whoever's holding the head, on your 3 count, we're gonna log roll the patient to the patient's left. Okay, so log roll the patient to the patient's left. So now, the big part of his job is to tell this person who's holding the board. Okay, at a 45-degree angle, I need you to hold the board and in a scooping motion, push this board with everything you have. Push that board into the patient. Because the harder that she pushes the board, the more even he's going to be on that board. Okay? So now, first thing, the bottom of the board needs to be up. Right at the knee. The bottom of the board needs to be at the knee. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? And it'll make more sense right now here in a second. Now ideally, you should take the straps. What I like to do is just kind of pull them down. We're just in line with the board. Okay? Now, this padding right here, this padding is for his lower back. Because in theory, you have an arch in your lower back, right? That arch is more pronounced in people with a smaller frame. Okay? So this is mainly for the lower back. So I'm going to put it on the board right where the lower back is. That makes sense? Okay? So now, what you're going to do is take your right hand, put it on his shoulder, left hand on his waist. That's Daniel, cross with your right hand, cross arms. So you see how they crossed. Okay? So they're both having the waist. Now, when you grab the body, you're grabbing the body. Do not grab close. Do not grab close. Okay? Now, so your left hand's gonna be on the knee. Because in theory, your patient's what?
In their birthday suit.
In their birthday suit, right? So, you're gonna direct this person on your 3 count. We're gonna log roll the patient to their left. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, Carl, on your 3 count, we're gonna roll the patient to their left.
Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3.
So
Am I
now,
holding it like this?
yep, you're gonna hold it just like that. So now he's gonna direct. All right, Evan, so go ahead and push the board. So, okay, ma'am, what I need you to do is, at a 45-degree angle, in a scooping motion, push the board into the patient as we log roll him back.
At a 45-degree angle and a scooping motion, push the board as hard as you can into his back.
Okay.
Okay, and then on your 3 count, we're gonna log roll the patient back onto the board.
Wait till he counts.
All right, Carl.
All right.
On your 3 count, we're gonna push the patient back onto the board.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Push, 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 push! Don't move. All right. So now, you see how pretty even he looks on the board? I mean, as far as left and right is concerned, centered.
Yeah.
Okay. Given he's way down, and we did that on purpose. Okay. So she actually did a pretty good job pushing that board into him. That's actually going to help everyone in the long run. Okay. So now what we need to do is we obviously need to slide him up. Okay. So one thing you need to direct Carl here. Okay. First of all, I need you to put your knee on the board. Okay. Because if you're on asphalt, this board is going to slide down the street. Okay, you're going to be going in circles. And I've done that before with patients. And it's dumb. Dang it! Oh, someone put your foot on the board. Okay, and I've done that before. Okay, so you have to have someone put their foot or put their knee on the top of the board so the board stays put. Okay, and now what you're going to do is so your left hand, your right hand's on the shoulder, your right hand, your left hand. Don't cross. Okay. Right here.
Oh, right here?
Yep. Right there. Okay, so in other words, you're holding the patient. Because you're going to slide the patient up. Okay? And what you want to have Daniel do is actually come down here to the feet. He's going to hold the weight of the feet. Daniel's going to hold the weight of the feet. He's not lifting, he's just supporting the weight. Does that make sense? Supporting. No, you're not, 'cause I'm right in the way. Here. Over here. So what he's doing is he's just supporting the weight of the feet. Okay? It's going to make their job easier. Okay? So now, this right here, you see this? This is one option to move the patient, is to grab him. Because sometimes people don't put that padding down. Sometimes people don't put that padding down, which is technically 1 point for your skill. Okay? But it's not the end of the world. Does that make sense? Okay? So look at this position, look at this right here. This is one option. Now, the way that we want you to do it is you're actually going to use the blanket. Okay, so I just wanted to demonstrate that. What you're going to do is you're going to take that blanket, roll it up, nice and tight. You're actually going to use that blanket to slide your patient up. Okay, so he's going to support the weight of the legs, not lifting, but just supporting the weight just a little bit. And all the moving is going to be moving from that blanket. Okay, Carl's going to need to support the head as they go up. Okay, so now you need to direct everyone. Okay, everyone, we're going to slide the patient directly straight up, approximately 8 to 9 inches. Okay, now the goal is to get the top of his ear to the bottom of that blue strip. Does that make sense? The top of his ear to the bottom of that blue strip. So in other words, it's not going to be blocking. Okay, go ahead.
Carl, make sure you keep your knee on the board so it doesn't slide. We're going to slide the patient up the board 8 to 9
On your
inches.
3 count?
On my 3 count.
Or his 3 count.
On Carl's 3 count.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, very nice.
Look at that. No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so as long as it's roughly, sorry, please don't let go. Okay, so you see how the top of his ear is just right there at the bottom of the board, or that headbed? That's called a headbed. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect, the way it is right there. So now what we need to do is, now we need to take out all these straps. Okay, so what you can do is now is direct your partner. Okay, partner, let's pull out all these straps so they're kind of just flaked out like a spider. Now we come across a problem. Well, not too much, but we pull out. So now, so leave it like that, don't pull it. So now, sometimes, not sometimes, actually a lot of times, the buckles will be stuck underneath the board. We actually have a pretty good layout here besides one strap. Okay? The buckles will be under the board where you can't pull it out. What you're going to do is, okay, on Carl's count, you're going to have Daniel lift the board no more than 6 inches. No more than 6 inches. Because in theory, anything more than that, can the patient slide down? Technically defeats the purpose, right? Right. So on Carl's count, Daniel's going to lift the board no more than 6 inches, and then he's going to instruct his partner, okay, partner, make sure we have all the straps out. Okay? So in other words, it's coordinated. It's coordinated. Okay? So go ahead and direct Carl.
Okay, Carl, on your 3 count, you're going to lift the board up 6 inches and you're going to pull the straps out from under the board.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
There's 5 straps.
Why do I feel like a real patient?
Okay? Now, sometimes the straps are tucked way up here by the head. What you're going to do is have both your partners come up with one hand, grab the handle on equal sides. Okay? Carl, on your 3 counts, we're both gonna lift the board no more than 6 inches. Okay?
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Not equally.
And it's paralyzed. He's getting right.
Okay, in
Space
theory
like-
though, you would want to have, you see what I'm talking about though? Have both people lift, okay? No more than 6 inches enough to get that strap out. Okay? So far so good? So now that all the straps are out, we need to secure those straps to the patient. Okay? Torso, legs, head. Start from the top, work your way down, go back up to the head. Torso, legs, head. If you do it in any other order, that would be a critical fail. Torso, legs, head. Okay? So right now, he can direct his partner. Okay, partner, we're going to take the straps and go across the chest. Those straps right here at the very top, they're going to cross over. They're going to cross over. Okay? Sterling's going to wear those straps like a backpack. Okay? Go ahead and take those straps, go across. Now, sometimes your patient is really low on the board, but they're still good because maybe they have a really long neck. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're actually going to take that strap off the board and pull it down to the next hole down, so that way that strap really covers the shoulder like a backpack. The goal is to have it like a backpack because in theory, if, let's say we have Tony driving the ambulance, the first time driving, he hits the brakes real hard, what's going to happen to this board that's on the gurney? It's going to slide, okay? So in theory, I want my patient to be attached to the board as one, and everything goes sliding, but versus the patient slide on the board, okay? So those straps need to look like a backpack, which they do, okay? So when you start to buckle them, whatever needs to do now is have the patient, okay, sir, take a deep breath in and hold it, and then carefully cinch down that seatbelt strap, okay? Don't sit there and start tugging at it, because if your patient does the wiggles, all right, that's a critical fail. So you're going to grab the buckle and pull on the strap to take out that extra slack while your patient's taking a deep breath in. Okay? So go ahead.
Okay, can you please take a deep breath for me?
And hold it, and then go ahead and connect the straps, and then. So what I would do is.
So,
me this strap.
like,
Under the arm. Go, so tighten it, then buckle.
Then that's over.
The arm. There you go. Great.
yeah. And then,
Take a deep breath for me.
Hold it. Buckle. There you go. Okay, breathe. No record. Okay. All right, so see what we did there. Have your patient take a deep breath in and hold it. Pull cinch down on that buckle. Okay, sir, go ahead and breathe again. Now what they need to do is take that blanket. What I usually do is I pull it across over the pelvis, just like that. Now, if your blanket's just kind of tucked in, that's fine. This is the part where I said where patients have an unstable pelvis. That blanket I would actually unfold so it's even longer lengthwise. Okay? It's longer lengthwise, and then I make that diaper. Remember that picture we saw of the pelvis where there's this blanket? Right? That's where I would actually secure that blanket. Okay? So now what he needs to do is to find the pelvis. Because that buckle is going to go right on the pelvis. Okay? So just kind of feel where the pelvis is. Okay? That seatbelt buckle needs to go directly over the pelvis. If you put it over the stomach, that could be a critical fail because is that going to be harmful to the organs, obviously? Okay? That pelvis is going to help anchor down that patient. Okay? Go ahead and buckle it. And as you put your buckles on, ideally they should look nice and straight. If they're twisted, well then untwist them. Okay? Go ahead and hold the buckle. You can see how you pull it all the time. Okay? Now come down to the legs. This is where you need the padding. In between the legs, there's a void. Okay? What he's going to do is she's going to grab that, or he's going to direct his partner. Okay, partner, let's go ahead and put some padding in between the legs. Now, 2 straps down here, above the knee and below the knee. Okay? Okay, so above the knee
You think my fly's open?
No, you're good.
You're good.
You see how those belts, they're not completely cinching down on his legs, but they're just snug, okay? So now, we need to come back up to the head. So you need to ask Abby, okay, hand me those stay blocks, okay? Don't hand anything over the patient, so go around, right? Just kind of hand it right around. Now, with these stay blocks, okay, they go on a certain way. They're gonna go on kind of like sunglasses, okay? These only go on in a certain way. So you have to make sure you look at them, okay? So there's Velcro only on two sides for a certain reason. As they go on, you're going to literally put them on like sunglasses. If you go on one side, you're going to push the head over, okay? So what he's going to do is, he's going to come down. They're going to be on top of the ear, okay? So in other words, they're not blocking that ear still, okay? So he's going to come down like he's putting on sunglasses. Don't put it over the ear. Just go above the ear. Yeah. So that Velcro is going to go on that blue pad. Go ahead and go all the way down. You see what I'm saying? You go down at the same time like you're putting on sunglasses. Okay? So now he's going to take this strap. Okay, there's a little pad on here. You're going to put it on the forehead. Now, the goal for this is to put it right on the orbits, the bone. Don't put it on the forehead, put it on the bone. Okay? So as close to on the eyebrows as you can. Now what Carl's going to do is he needs to actually roll his hands up like he's making a hat basically with his hands. Okay? So in theory he's still holding the head. For testing purposes, this is how you're going to do it. Okay? So now, what you need to do is, you're going to grab the tape. What's that? Yep.
Like transport?
No. For the sake of the test. In the past, we've had TAs that have failed people because they let go, even though the head's been secured. Okay? There's been some discrepancies in the past, so to avoid any discrepancy, for the sake of this test, Carl's going to hold the head until the very end. Okay? So now, what you're going to do is, you're going to strip out a piece of duct tape. Now, show you something. If this is an 80-year-old female, okay, it's in the middle of the night, she fell down because she lives in La Mesa, right? And she's in her birthday suit or in a nightgown, and I come in and I go, hey, we're going to tape you down. Okay? Is that going to go over so well?
No.
No. So what you're going to do is, you're going to grab the tape away from the patient. You're going to pull a length of tape. You're going to pull about an arm length of tape. Okay? Don't sit there and do 2 arm lengths. Okay? That's not correct. So 1 arm length away, that's enough to get started. Okay? Leave the tape on the roll. Leave the tape on the roll. You know there's going to be one of you that's going to rip it off and you're going to mess it up. Okay? There's a reason why we're going to leave it on the roll. Okay? Now, you're going to start away. What he's going to do is he's going to start away. You're going to take the tape, as long as it tucks underneath the board about 1 inch or 2 inches, that's all you need. Okay? Take the tape, tuck it underneath the board about 1 inch or 2 inches. Any extra tape, that's too much, you need to cut it off. Okay? So, we'll see here in a second. So now you're going to go along that white strip.
Don't pull my eyebrows out.
Just got it done.
All right, now, hang on. All right, listen up. What the goal of that tape is, the goal of the tape is to go on the orbits. Now, is it going to be close to the eyebrows? Yes. There is a way to remove the tape. There is a way to remove the tape, and I'll show you right now. Okay? So now, go ahead and finish going down. Now, let's say that that's not enough tape. Okay? That's clearly not going to be enough tape. So what he's going to do is put a little bit of slack in that tape, hold it, and then carefully pull it out. If you ratchet the tape on his head and his head kind of moves a little bit, that's a critical fail. Okay? I'm telling you right now, if you ratchet the tape on their head and their head moves just a little bit like that, that's a critical fail and you will fail. That's one of the top things people fail on this skill. And then they complain, oh, everything else is right. No, that's not how it works. If you ratchet the tape on the head, that is a critical fail. So do you see what I'm saying? You put a little bit of slack in that tape, then you hold the tape and then pull on it. So that way there's no ratchet. Okay? So now, what he's going to do is make sure that he has enough tape to go at least 1 inch or 2 inches underneath the board and then cut the tape. Some of you in here have problems cutting duct tape. I don't know why. Okay? So just 1 inch or 2 inches underneath the board. Anything more, you're going to have to cut it. Okay? Now, with the collar, you would actually go across. Okay? So there's usually a second roll or second strip. Okay? So away and sir, please move your hand. The second piece would come right here, and if they have a collar, we would go underneath the collar. Hold it.
When you say under the collar, you mean under the chin?
Yeah, so it'd go underneath the chin. Okay? So it'd go right underneath the chin. So you see how it's kind of coming back like that? That's to kind of remind the person not to move their head down. Okay? Obviously it's a little bit different with this, okay, because we have the horse collar. But if you have a regular collar, you would go across underneath the chin. Okay? So now, hand me the triangular bandage, not over the patient.
Oh.
Okay? So now, what we need to do is, we need to tie the patient's hands, because in theory, if they're unconscious, okay? So now, you have to tie just a simple knot. You firefighters, do you want to do a handcuff knot and all that garbage? Okay, loop-de-loop. I don't care. Okay? But it has to be a knot tied on the hands. Now that we're done with everything, what does Edward need to do now?
Oh,
Check
check the PMS. Okay.
PMS, right? So go ahead and check PMS again.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no pulse.
The PMS check has to be done after you tie the hands. In theory, can us tying the hands compromise PMS? Because we tie it too tight or something dumb happened, right?
Thank you. Close your eyes for me, please. Which finger am I touching? Which finger am I touching?
My pinky.
Now?
My pinky.
Now?
My thumb.
What am I doing?
Pinching me.
Now?
Pinching me.
Okay, can you look at your toes for me, please? And, which film am I touching right now?
My pinky.
How is the situation?
The big one. The big one. It's the pinky one.
Can you push down against my hand? Against them? Thank you. Pull your toes up against my hand.
Pulse, motor, sensory.
intact.
Last thing I saw was pull up. It's called PMS.
Alright.
So PMS. You see what I'm saying? The last thing I saw as a proctor was, can you pull up? And then he said no. So even though he may have done sensory, he did it out of order, but as a proctor, that was the last thing I saw. So in my eyes, he didn't do sensory. That's what I'm talking about. Pulse, motor, sensory. I'm telling you, people fail on that. So pulse, motor, sensory. Okay? And then transport. You have to say transport. In other words, you acknowledge the skill's over. Okay? Questions?
Yeah, one question. When we did the spine board thing, why do the slide portion? Why not just get him on the board with his head already on the blue portion?
Oh, so that's a very good question. So the reason why we put the board up at his knee, log roll and then slide him up, so there's only one movement. Because in theory, if I get the board lined up, even though we're pretty close on, when he actually gets on the board, he may actually slide up or down where we have to do a little moving, okay? If for some reason the patient, let's say when we log roll him on, let's say she didn't push the board as hard enough, he's actually halfway onto the board, we have to slide down and up. In other words, in a Z pattern. Under no circumstances can you push your patient to the side. Under no circumstances can you push your patient laterally. You cannot push them laterally because they're going to move sideways. It defeats the purpose of what we're doing. When you move them, down and up. So that's why if we have the board at the knees like we did, he was far down, all we have to do is just go up and we're done. Does that make sense? When you log roll your patient onto the board, okay? For some reason, if they're only halfway on the board, you can log roll them back off. It's okay to log roll them back off as long as, okay, Carl, in your 3 count, we're going to log roll the patient to the left and try it again. And then re-emphasize to your partner holding the board, okay, ma'am, I really need you to push the board as hard as you can. And then try it again. That's okay. If anything, it's more of a brownie point because you acknowledge that the board's not correct. Okay? Now, you have 10 minutes to complete this skill. If you take your time and go through it, people finish in about 8 or 9 minutes, no problem. The biggest thing about this skill is you have to delegate. Every single person helping you is not going to do anything unless you specifically tell them to. And they're told that by the proctors. Don't do anything. Okay? Don't put your hand on the knee, okay? Unless they say put your hand on the knee and put one hand on the hip. They're not going to do anything. This skill is all about delegation of the EMT. Okay? Do not incorporate any other skills, like assessment or anything. Okay? There's no OPQRST, there's no trauma assessment, none of that garbage. Stick within that skill sheet on page 62, I think. Okay? So, spinal immobilization, supine patient, that's the skill. So have your red books out. Okay? Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So if the board is too short, like Ali, the is too tall.
Start from the bottom.
Okay.
So now that sometimes that happens. We have a patient that's clearly going to be too tall for the board. You're going to have to do the best that with what you have. Okay? We don't have longer boards, and I put patients that are not only too tall, but sometimes patients that are too wide for the board where there's no straps that we can really. You have to work with what you got. Okay? Because we can't accommodate to every single patient type. Okay? Good?
One question, sorry.
Yeah.
The bystanders that you're mentioning for skills testing day, who are these people? Are they?
So the bystanders is the people that you're going to bring in. You all need to bring in at least one person. If you can bring in multiple, bring multiple. Now, if you can't bring in anybody, that's okay. Your grade doesn't suffer, but it's just going to take longer. Because the more people you have come in, the more stations we can open, and the more people can test, the quicker we all go home. Okay?
Can we act as each other's bystanders?
No, we all tested. Okay? So you have to bring in someone. You can't use someone else from the other classes. You have to bring in someone. Okay? Family, friends, significant others, whoever. Okay? Now, a lot of times what they do is they trick them. Hey, let's go to breakfast, and they show up here. Yeah, I've heard that.
That's
I've
a
heard,
good one.
one person brought his ex-girlfriend in. Super weird.
That's a weird.
That was super weird. I don't know how. What,
I wish I was
I don't know.
Oh,
One person was